Good afternoon. See, I'm a teacher, so I always wait for the last row to listen up before I go.
It could be a while.
Oh, we can all stare at them. Maybe they'll get. Hi. See, that's when you get teachers. See, teachers will always focus what on what? We focus on the last row, right? So, hi. My name is Adam Weiner, and it is my privilege to introduce this afternoon's speaker. Hey, I've known him for, he wants me back over here.
Oh, no.
I take
I was
directions
gonna say
well.
you got the slide.
Thank you for coming to this monthly meeting. You want to go that way?
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to go that way. So, for the last 3 years, I've been in Gaming Anonymous with Nay. So you're supposed to say, hi, Adam.
No, they
Glad you're here. I'm not feeling the love. Hi, Adam. Okay, so for the last 3 years, I've been Gaming Anonymous with Nay. And I met him in Niagara Falls. Actually, alongside Niagara Falls, not in Niagara Falls. And we've been fast friends since, and today he's going to talk a little bit about gaming. He's going to talk about his program. We've been using, I'm going to go off script, but we've been using his program for about 2 years in my training class. It is truly, truly amazing. Students who have never been able to learn any other way in their life are doing great on the program. And so we're going to give a warm welcome to our new member to Gaming Anonymous.
Thank you, Adam, for that unscripted plug. My name is Nye, and I am a gameaholic. Really, I am. I'm like a hardcore gameaholic. I try to stay away from it because I know it will ruin my life. But thankfully, I've been 2 years sober, and but then something happened. Pokemon Go came out. And I loved Pokemon when I was a kid. I collected cards, I played the Game Boy games and everything like that. And when that came out to the real world, I was like, no way, I have to do that. And I fell off the wagon hardcore. In fact, it was so bad that this game came out over in the middle of summer. I think it was July, I believe, 2 years ago. And I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona, July. It does not mix very well. But I found myself walking around the streets of downtown Phoenix in the middle of the heat, having fun because of this game, Pokemon Go. So who here has not heard of Pokemon Go? Thank goodness. It's a game that is kind of spread throughout the entire world because of its impact on reality. That's the big thing, its impact on reality. Because before video games were cloistered in your room or in front of a television set or something like that. But now we're bringing gaming out into the wild. You're actually walking around the streets, avoiding traffic and pedestrians, trying to catch these Pokemon. And does anyone know what Pokemon Go is? Do I need to explain the mechanics of it? Or you have to go to the Pokestops, collect items, and catch Pokemon? So anyone else here a certified gaming addict? No? All right, so other than Adam there, my fellow gamer addict here, anyone here been to any of my other gamer sessions before? Nope? Okay, so, you've been, cool. So I'm expanding on a lot of those ideas that you encountered the first time. So because now instead of 45 minutes, I have an hour and 15 minutes. Because you remember how fast I had to go through everything, right? Yeah. All right, so basically, as probably some of you know, video games are an addiction. So I'm going to be talking about why it's an addiction. It's because smartphones. Smartphones made video gaming ubiquitous. So before you had to buy a specific console or a computer or a portable device that's designed and used specifically for gaming, but now we have these phones that can be turned into gaming devices. In fact, some people say these are my gaming devices, and once in a while I make a phone call on it. Right. So the agenda here, we're going to talk about a little bit about understanding gaming. Because what I want you to do is to understand what's going on in here so that you can reach into that mind and try to pull something out. Because if you don't understand the brain that's going on behind the gamer, then you might as well be talking to someone on Mars, for that matter. Then we get to a little bit brief history of video games, how they evolved, how video game is an addiction, and how it affects us in education. We're going through some ideas and strategies that you can employ in the classroom. And then the culture. So if you understand the culture of gaming, then you'll understand them a little bit more. So just kind of like if you know people who are like, theater people. They have a certain language and vocabulary and style, and so same goes for jocks, and same goes for chefs. We have our own little niche thing. So if you understand the gaming culture, then I'll put you closer to reaching them. And then, and I'm going to tell you about like how we utilize, like what Adam said, is like how we incorporate gamification in culinary arts, and utilizing them as our test bed, figured out ways to reach the kids in the most impactful way. So first I want to deal a little bit about me. As you know, I'm a gameaholic, but I'm also grew up with quite a few disadvantages in life. Anyone here grew up with disadvantages when you were a kid? Anyone here had a completely privileged life with a silver spoon? Come on, raise your hand. No, so we all have disadvantages. So mine specifically was I was made in Taiwan. Yeah, it's funny. No, because I was made in Taiwan, and that was a disadvantage because of a number of reasons. But I was exported here when I was at the age of 2. When my parents came over here, and they opened up a Chinese restaurant. So families that come overseas, one of the most common things is open up a restaurant. Bring our cuisine over. We specialize in Mandarin, Szechuan, and Cantonese style cuisine. We had fast casual, fine dining, 2 fine dining restaurants, and the fast casual. So, but growing up in a restaurant, it's tough. You're living like months and months trying to make a payroll and all the bills, and you got your assets and everything like that. So it was really tough. So I spent a lot of time in the restaurant helping my parents out as slave labor, and basically making ends meet. And when I went to school, I was on free and reduced because we claimed very low income because everything went into business. I also had a problem with reading. So I had English was my second language, and I couldn't read worth anything. So I would look at a book, see the letters. I would read it, but it would go in one eye and right out the other somehow. So I had a very big deficiency because Chinese was my primary language. I had to go through 2 years of specialty classes and speech classes so that I could speak to you today without an accent. So those are some.
That's very commendable.
Thank you. Thank you. And I overcame that. I also had another problem, ADHD. I was very hyper when I was a kid, and it was very hard for my parents to control and discipline me because I was growing up here in American culture, so the whole entire Chinese way just did not mesh. So there was a lot of disconnect there. So I was really crazy. I had like the hyper, attention star, because in the class, when I go to class, the teacher was going so slow, because I even failed a math class. Now that's funny because look at me, I'm Chinese. And the stereotype is very true. Most Chinese kids are really great at math because that's something that the parents drill into them. But I'm actually good at math. But I failed the class because the teacher was going so slow. I became disengaged and fell asleep for half the class because of my ADHD. So I dealt with my problems chemically, not chemically. Actually, not chemically, because we were so poor, my parents couldn't send me to a psychiatrist to put me on Ritalin to be able to help me do that. So they suffered, I suffered, but through that whole process, I had to learn and cope with my attention disorder. So to me, that was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. Because what I did is I took my biggest disadvantage and turned it into a superpower. So because I was able to work with that attention deficit disorder and actually utilize it as a tool in my life, I could focus on so many more things than my peers. So everyone was very rigid-minded. You have to be singular focused. But because I'm so scatterbrained, I learned to be able to harness that scatterbrain and actually be able to have heightened senses, for example. So when I'm looking out in the world, my brain notices more things at once than if I were to focus on it. That actually lends itself to video games. So I can look out there, and sometimes it's just crazy. I would say there's 28 people out there or something like that, and I don't know, I didn't count, but somehow my brain knew it. Or I say something there's 17 of this or that. It just because my brain automatically puts it into my memory, and I'm not even thinking about that kind of thing. So so it gives me a sense of multi-sensory interpolation. So be able to take on multiple things at once, compute it, and actually deal with it all at once. So that I'm not, I don't need singularly focus on something and to be able to accomplish that goal. So because of that, video games is something that's very sensory. Like they throw a million things at you. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to challenge your brain and trip you up so that you fail. So video games is all about trying to get you to fail. Because to be able to beat a game, the only way to learn is through failure. So I taught myself programming because I said, hey, I love video games, I'm going to make my own. Well, that never happened. Because instead I went to culinary arts because someone's parents said, hey, my dad's building this thing and you're good at computers, so maybe you can build something. And I'm like, sure, why not? And then that basically kind of brought me here to today where I created this culinary arts program over the years, gamified it, made it so that kids can level up and become engaged in something. I want to only say a little bit better than before. It's not astronomically better because no one's ever done anything astronomically better. But a little better is better than nothing at all. So that's about enough about me. So now you know why I'm standing here talking to you today about gamification and culinary arts. So we live in a generation of instant gratification. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to hook up the. Is this microphone on? Okay. Let me switch. Sound. There you go.
Sound.
Test, test. Test, 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 test. Hello. I forgot to check the levels here. Test, 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 test. Handheld microphone. No.
We can hear you just fine in the back.
No, I have a video here which is going to play some audio, but you're not going to be able to hear it. Nope. Oh well. So this is the Big Bang Theory, and he's doing a magic trick. Actually, I'm going to do something else here, just to get this to work. Bear with me here. Let's see that. Now the reason I didn't do this is because the color output is all messed up.
Oh, I see.
Okay, we're going to stick this in here, and then I'm going to pour in the milk. I hope this works because I didn't bring a change of pants.
Look, I googled it. It's a fake kitchen. That's it. No cake for you. Anyone else want to join the no cake club?
She's just kidding, boys and girls. Everyone gets cake.
So as you saw, the funny bit was the kids, if they have a question or if they have some sort of curiosity, they have the information right at their fingertips. Back when we were growing up, it was not like that, right? Back then, we actually had to physically relocate ourselves to what was that called again? Library, yes. And actually if we're looking for a book, we have to go to this thingamajigger you pull out, you look through these little card called a card catalog, like a decimal system. And then you have to go and find the book and go, okay, it's located, darn it, it's not there. Because someone else misshelved it and now it's lost forever. So they don't know that you actually had to work for your information, or even worse, like you had to go into the stacks at the university, and then you had to do this catalog search, and you had to pull this film out and stick it in this thingamajigger called a microfiche. Yeah, and look up an article that you're researching. And by the time you're done, you're like, oh, I put too much effort into this. I'm only going to reference 2 articles because it's way too much work. So information was working. Now we're dealing with a generation that doesn't know anything other than instant knowledge of the world in their fingertips. So how do we prepare for these kids for the future, where they need everything now? So let's go ahead and look at this interesting thing, because we're preparing them for our robot overlords. It was interesting that the keynote talked about, one of the trends of the future is robotics preparing food. And actually, fortunately for us, it's not going to disrupt our industry to the degree like other industries. But they are starting to emerge. And maybe about 30, 40 years, it will be a completely changed. Anyone watch Futurama here? Yeah. So that's Bender, to the chef. So has anyone here heard of spice? You know spice? All right, not the good stuff you throw in food, but spice. This is incredible. Those are all robots. This is real, not just imaginary or testing. Anybody here from Massachusetts?
I am. I'm from Boston.
Check it out.
As robotics obsessed engineers, we set out to create a new, efficient way of cooking food. Our wok is cooked by constantly tumbling your food, which provides a really nice and even sear. They're heated with induction, and we have temperature control to perfectly cook your meal every time. From our humble starts in our fraternity basement, we developed a prototype that really sort of proved we could build something that can create delicious, high-quality meals. I needed to come to Boston. I discovered that the robotic kitchen bring precision, consistency, taste, and also freshness to the preparation.
So isn't that crazy? It's opened in March of this year.
Yeah.
And did you see how, like I said, that the only person they need is a garbage aid?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Where did you find that image?
The video?
Yeah.
Just Google Spice, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Find it on YouTube. It's online. So no one's heard of Spice before this, right? No, yeah. When that came across my my desk, I'm like, wow, wow. Like, you know, somebody proof of concept and it actually is working. And the
I just
Yelp
think-
reviews are actually really good on it.
I
too.
just think it's interesting that I live in Boston. I get the Boston Globe, and I get another number of other publications. And obviously, the restaurant business doesn't want them to be successful.
Yeah, there's probably some really big pushback on that.
Yeah,
so,
I would
so right
imagine.
now they're doing like,
Although
you know,
Danny
very-
Galuda is so.
social media marketing,
Yeah.
viral marketing, things like that to deal with.
I will go there this week.
So when the keynote this morning was talking about robots and stuff, I was like, oh, don't mention Spice because you're gonna ruin my
Oh, yeah.
thunder. So yes, you were.
So who's doing the prep work for that?
There's actually still prep chefs, so
So
I
they're,
believe.
so all you're seeing is the cooking.
Yeah, so they're talking about the cooking process. So you got garbage aid to do the finishing,
Sure.
but they don't talk about the people who are doing prep.
Well, I mean, it's no different than melting pot. I mean, you're cooking all your own food there, also somebody in the back cutting stuff.
Because there's
Yeah.
still humans in the back doing this washing and the cleaning and the.
Who knows, there might be robots in the back chopping stuff.
It looked like there was a chop.
Or they could buy it already chopped.
Yeah, they can always buy it pre-prepped too.
I don't know what the price point is, but
So they might buy pre-prep
Yeah.
because that might
Yeah,
mitigate the
sales.
labor costs, because I think they were saying that
The only employee they said.
is the garbage aid, yeah. So maybe that's their
Garbage
their aid. Isn't that, yeah, that's wild. Wild. So Yeah, so the keynote was talking about like robots doing these cooking, but this is actually implementation in a restaurant. And look at the Yelp reviews, and most of it is very positive. You know, it's like, you know, it's not just a gimmick, it's that they're actually producing quality, healthy foods at a good price.
And I'm guessing that their market are probably not people who read the Boston Globe. Nothing against Boston Globe, but I mean, honestly, they're marketing through Yelp,
Yes.
not the Globe.
Yeah, Yelp,
So-
viral marketing,
Right.
the social media marketing. So yeah, I mean, so with this, you know, maybe that pushes the timetable up maybe another 10 years, so 20
Sure.
years. But the thing is, like, you know, so, you know, the culinary industry will become a very specialist industry if things keep trending this way. But so, you know, we are producing students who will eventually be competing against this, which is kind of scary in a way. So that's spice, you know. So there are fun fact actually. The Michelin chef, I can't remember his name.
Daniel Boulud.
Daniel Boulud.
I don't know.
So the way that they contacted him was they saw him do something on something social media, so they just blind emailed him.
Oh.
And then he looked at it, he's like, this sounds interesting. And he flew all the way from France or from Europe to check it out, and then that's how he got signed on. Isn't that crazy? It's like they just sent a blind email to him, and he probably liked it. That's how he got it. So what started this whole entire video game thing? Pong. Yeah.
Pong.
Yeah. It all started with this little ball bouncing back and forth, and you have little paddles. A table tennis simulator. It's simulating table tennis in a way. And this, as simple as it is now, as you think about it, back then, as humans, we've never encountered anything like this before. We had television, we had movies and things like that, but never have we been able to manipulate a digital asset on a digital screen and make it do what we want to do in real time. So that unlocked a whole new wave of thinking that's never been addressed before. And over the years, from this simple little game, you know, we got like more games that become more complicated. You know, it gets into like action games, speeding games, and then today we have like Pokemon Go, where now the video game has been brought into reality. So you have to actually be in a physical space. Augmented reality is the next big thing. If it hasn't already, we already have like a Jurassic Park version of Pokemon Go. So you go around catching dinosaurs. And hopefully you don't get eaten by dinosaurs. So yeah, so it's all about bringing the virtual game into the real world.
Do people still play Pokemon Go? Like, is it still popular? Like, I mean, it was huge there for that summer.
Yeah, it's huge then. It's still there's still a strong community of people who still play it. There's a lot of like new content, new Pokemon. I played for quite a while, then I stopped for a while, and then and here I actually started playing again because I'm like, oh cool, I can go catch Pokemon on the river, walk. Actually, I have this image. It was so funny. So this is like when Pokemon Go first came out, and a guy was playing Pokemon while his wife was going into labor. And he had the gall to post that picture on Twitter and say, look, my wife's going to labor and I'm catching a Pokemon. And I wonder if they're still together today. Yeah, so because it's so visceral, it affected us so much that like, it almost consumed us. In fact, it was so crazy during the height of the craze that somebody yelled that there was a Charmander there, and people just kind of went crazy and try to go and catch it. Realistically, it's not supposed to be like that. So you can see how like that kind of phenomenon happened all over the world. So we talked about video games, and I want to know, like, so none of you are part of the Gameaholics Anonymous, but I think maybe some of you should be. I don't know. So let's look at here. Like, anybody here started played arcade games? So you have a gamer here? We have a few classics here. Where back then you had to like physically relocate yourself to a pizza parlor or a bar, and then start playing video games. Like the good old
Gamers. They actually were only there for gaming.
Exactly.
But you had to go.
You had to go. Yeah. And then we got the gaming home with the console, with the Atari and the Sega and the Nintendo. And now instead of going out to those smoky bars, the kids can now play at home while their parents go to the smoky bars. And then PCs came out, and they were supposed to be productivity machines, but then somebody said, hey, let's program it to play games. And one of my first PC games that I remember spending a lot of time on was SimCity. I love that game. I spent so many hours building like the ultimate utopia on that game. And then the games became portable with the Game Boy, so now you get to play while you're on the go, like in a car ride, at a park, walking down the street, hoping not to hit anybody. And then the smartphone, as you know now, everything is a game device. There's no, unless you have a flip phone, smartphone.
You can still play games on.
That's right, you can
There's
still play.
Snake,
Yeah.
right? You-
Yeah, there are still games on the flip phone. So, and then obviously, solitaire. If you play solitaire, you're a gamer, because that is a game in itself, not as sophisticated as these, but still. So I want to talk about this graphic here. This is very important concept to think about as educators. So over here on the left, we have these classic cartoon characters that we all grew up with. Smurfs, Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, way back. SpongeBob.
Hey.
Hey, look, it's black and white. That back then.
I know.
Felix the cat.
So you gotta think. Okay, so back then, when your parents were busy, they wanted to hold your attention. What they do, they put you in front of the TV and you watch these cartoons, so programming, and it held your attention because they had crazy stories, crazy antics, and you were like, okay, cool. And so you were entertained by that medium. So as you're growing up, what happens is you become attached to these characters because they're part of your childhood. So you grow up loving Mickey Mouse. You love all the stories from it. You watch Disney Channel. And then you grow up, you go to Disneyland, you buy the Mickey Mouse ears and post these really awful selfies. And so because it becomes ingrained into your psyche. So that was your childhood entertainment, and you loved it. So when you went to school back then, while you're watching these TVs, you sat in these nice neat rows, and the teacher was up front talking to you. And you're like, oh, cool. I mean, not cool, but oh, yeah. The teacher's talking at me, I'm being passively given the information. This makes sense because at home I sit in front of TV, I'm all nice and quiet, and I'm taking in the information. So television actually helped to serve the purpose of the classic factory classroom, because what it did is it trains the kid to be quiet, sit, and pay attention. So that worked until the game console came out at home. So now the kids are growing up, instead of watching these cartoon characters, now they're becoming enamored by these characters, like, Pikachu, Mario. Anybody here are Mario fans? Yeah. Because so who doesn't love Mario? Mario is actually such an iconic character. He actually is more well known worldwide than Mickey Mouse.
Really?
Yes, because he has infiltrated the gaming console world. So some people might not have TV, but they have video game consoles. So they get enamored with Mario. So all these characters you identify with, but the difference is that now instead of sitting there passively watching the information being doled out to you, you're having control of the avatar, making them go through a level, figuring out like how well to go through a level. Like you go through a level, you die, then you go through again, you avoid that obstacle or things like that. So now you're making decisions, you're making choices, you actually have something to control. And then you go into the classroom, you sit in these nice neat rows, the teacher's up there talking at you, you're like, does not compute, because at home, my form of entertainment is now this, instead of this. Oops. So because of that shift in the ability of control, that has changed our entire kids' attitudes about education. So now we have to have active learning strategies in the classroom. We have to have project-based learning. We have to have all these different ways to be able to bring the practice into the forefront rather than the passive, which is actually better because we don't want to just be up there lecturing, right? It's boring. So now their mindset is now we have to have this. There is no other way because I can't take in the information that way anymore. So that's the whole entire shift that we're facing. So now let's look at the addiction of video games here. So let's pretend that video games is a widespread epidemic. Okay, it's this horrible disease called video gaming. Okay, we found that 97% of youth have admitted that they have used video games. They're users of video games. 97% of youth. That's like practically everyone. Although maybe the 3% probably just didn't know the answer to that question. That represents 64 million kids in the United States alone who are possibly addicted to video games. The age group between 2 and 5 are the fastest growing segment. And we know why, right? Because the smartphone. Because it's touch technology, so the kids don't have to have manual dexterity to be able to translate a keyboard or a mouse or a joystick into controlling things on the screen anymore. Now they can just go, oh, that's there, oh, that's there, and they can manipulate it visually. Just like, you know, if you watch the movie Minority Report, it's all natural. So that's why kids are able to gravitate toward that. In fact, China, you know, my own peeps, they have internet boot camps where they send kids for a 1-month intensive boot camp where they go into like this basic training regimen, completely disconnect them from the internet or any kind of electronic device, so that in hopes to break them of their addiction. It's that bad. There's actually some really awesome videos online that you can look up and spend time doing it. So why is it so addicting? So this is where we go into like some of the key elements of like maybe there's something we can do in education to make it addicting as well. So first off, this one is a temporary escape. Obviously, when you have your kids in the classroom, they can't escape, so they can't do that one. But for video gamers, it's a temporary escape. There's also a lot of social aspects in it, and a lot of anonymous aspects of it as well. So when you're online, you're working with a bunch of people, but you could be whoever or whatever you want in the gaming world. So in some ways, you could be something you're not. In some ways, you could actually be your true self. So that's a lot of like self-expression that happens online. All right, so now this one is something that we can tap into. This is challenging and goal-oriented. So setting goals for the kids, making challenges. But video games, that's one of the biggest driving factors is that they have a challenge and they're overcoming a goal, which then gives them a sense of achievement. But this is the most important one that we can easily tap into. Is constant measurable growth. So whenever you play a game, you're constantly getting feedback. Oh, you got 1 star, you got 2 stars, you did this in 2 minutes, you did this in 1 minute 38 seconds, you did this in 1 minute 27 seconds. You had 10 headshot kills, you had 20 headshot kills in the game, or you did like a ollie nose grind with a McTwist twice in a row, and then you got that achievement. So you're constantly given like measurable growth. So anyone here watched Ready Player One in the room? But you've heard of it, right? Yeah. Yeah, you saw the marketing. So this is a movie that is designed, for the video game world.
I ended up here.
About a dystopian future.
My tiny corner of nowhere. There's nowhere left to go. Nowhere. Except the oasis. A whole virtual universe. People come to the oasis for all the things they can do. But they stay because of all the things they can be.
Can you feel this?
Yeah. It's the only place that feels like I mean anything.
So that's the movie Ready Player One. I love that movie. Watch it twice. Because that's my world. But the thing is, like, for you could watch it as a kind of like a research piece. It's got a really, really great story. But the thing is, you look at it, you go like, what drives these kids to be engulfed in this world, this virtual world? What motivates them to want to be part of it and not be part of the real world? And what drives them to be in it? And in fact, in this particular dystopian future, not just kids, but everyone's in it, because everyone is they feel like they're nobody unless if they're in the virtual world. And this came from a book. So prior to the movie coming out, I actually referenced the book here, but now there's the movie, so you don't have to read that book. Watch the movie. It's an hour and a half long. The book is really amazing, though. So this actually takes us to Maslow's hierarchy of gaming needs. So we know Maslow, we have our basic needs, but let's look at the gaming needs. So first, it gives us a sense of belonging. So one of the key aspects that really drives kids into these virtual worlds is their belongingness. They go, I'm part of a group, I'm part of a clan, I have people who depend on me now I feel special, because in real life, I don't feel special for some reason. So they gravitate toward that. Or even if they are, good in real life, they have another outlet online for that. Another need is self-esteem. So they're overcoming challenges. So as they overcome challenges in the game, they complete quests and things like that, it builds their self-esteem throughout that process. And the other one that's really huge is self-actualization. Not only are you just part of this world, you're contributing it. You're a member of this world. You're building things. You're completing quests. You're buying and selling goods. You're in Minecraft. You're building weird objects and things like that. So now you have a sense of building into the whole entire situation here. So these are some. So this is what gaming is tapping into. It's like we have these needs, and it's giving to us. So what I'm going to do is, for those of you who are here, I'm going to send you. I'm going to pass this around. Email with the PowerPoint deck and also videos I've used and some other videos that I don't have time to show you here. Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
You just talked about a sense of belonging, self-esteem, self-actualization.
Yes.
But yet I find it interesting that in many cases, if I understand correctly, this generation is doing that all in an online capacity. They're not really interacting with other individuals in a face-to-face capacity.
Exactly. And that's what the online thing is substituting. So these video games and these online environments are substituting the face-to-face interactions because it's meeting their needs at those levels. That's why it's so addicting.
It totally makes sense. My son had a birthday party a few months ago, and I about died. I'm like, what is going on? And I walked out. He had 2 friends spending the night. They were all in different bedrooms playing each other on Fortnite.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, it was December and it was snowing and freezing, but I couldn't believe that they were all in our house. And when I walked out, they were in 3 separate bedrooms
Yeah.
playing each other.
Because that's their sense of social identity.
It really made me sad at that moment because I could not believe it.
In some cases, they can be sitting in the same room
Yeah.
at
Exactly.
different ends of the couch.
Yep.
And not communicating
Fortnite
verbally,
is-
they're communicating through the game.
Exactly,
Right.
to one another.
Yep.
Yeah, so what we're doing here, the purpose of the session is to open your eyes to this so that we can build bridges back to reality.
Good statement. Good for you. That's important that we recognize that's who they are,
Yeah.
and we need to reach to them rather than standing back and going,
It's like, what
yeah,
am I gonna do?
yeah.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
you're having an understanding
Yeah.
of what the motivations are, what you can do. There is no solution other than a boot camp, I guess. But the thing is, we can do things to mitigate, to medicate it naturally, not chemically.
Didn't you say at your last presentation, I think it was you, about like people literally died in the basement?
Oh yes, yeah. So yeah, in China, people actually have died because they kept playing the game. They forgot to eat, and then they just kept going until their body ceased to function because they're so enraptured in that environment. So now with VR coming out, wow, what's going to happen next? Anyone have done a VR game at all? Yeah, I've done it like a few times, and it is like really immersive. I like you gotta try it out. There's VR arcades out there somewhere in most cities now, so you can go and rent it for like $15 an hour. Just try it out. It's just so different. You never encountered.
Yeah, but my son, who's a real game, loves to game, he got that VR.
Yeah.
He used his birthday money and bought the PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he found he couldn't do it for as long as a video game because it does skew your timing,
Yes.
he likes it, but he really regulates it. It's very
Exactly.
disconcerting.
Yeah, and I so far still refuse to get one for myself because
I did the haunted house one in Vegas, and it
You
was
did?
so scary.
it is.
I thought I was really walking like on a beam, and
Wow.
you really feel
Yeah,
like
you're
a
like-
haunted house.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall.
You do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny watching the people who are doing it because it totally immerses you into that world, and even though you're not. So fortunately for me, I have my second mind. So I'm like, oh, this is scary, and I'm actually afraid of heights. But I'm like, this is reality. Woo! And I've done that because I'm like, okay, I challenge. I know I'm not gonna fall, and then and I jumped. I still felt it though. It was, but it was crazy.
What happened in the game? Do you
Nothing.
fall?
Nothing. I just kind of went off the platform. So
Yeah.
in the game, they didn't program that scenario where you actually.
Oh, where you fall?
Oh, he's not walking on the platform anymore.
Right.
He's like my flying ability.
You're flying, yeah, all of a
I
sudden.
call it the Laura Croft move.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a museum in Tampa that had a VR, and you got into Salvador Dali's paintings.
Oh.
So you could walk around inside
Yeah.
his painting. It really was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is amazing. And actually, so
Cool.
in education, VR will have a very big place in,
Absolutely.
in it as well, which will fortunately be a lot more useful than Second Life. Remember that? Yeah, someone else had a hand up?
I want to know more about these strategies
Oh, yeah.
to build bridges
Yeah, we're gonna get to it. All right, so
to reach them.
so the other thing I want to point out is that video games are here to stay. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's not a fad that's gonna come and go. Actually, in the 80s, did you know that they thought that the video game bubble burst in '86 or something like that, and all these companies went out of business because they made so many games. So they thought, okay, now the gaming industry is over, now we gotta shift to something else.
Do gamers grow out of it?
No.
No, no,
I can tell you.
it's a permanent condition. You can only self-regulate, so that's like a good thing. You know, all you can do is self-regulate. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry because, like, you know, back in the 80s, they actually busted, and they thought the gaming industry was going to go away. So like Atari was folding, ColecoVision, and all these different companies. But it came back again because of the PC kind of brought it. You know, but yeah, that's a whole other history lesson that I don't need to get into. So the funny thing is, like, you know, in 2015, I was like startled when I was watching the Super Bowl because I watch it for the commercials, not the game. And I saw an ad for this game called Clash of Clans. It's a mobile game that's free. You build a castle and then you attack each other. It's free. So how can a free game afford a commercial on the Super Bowl and hire this guy?
I don't know you, Big Buffet Boy 85, but if you think you can humiliate me and take my gold, think again. I'm coming for you with lots of barbarians and dragons.
So not only did they pay for a Super Bowl ad, they hired a well-known actor to
But you will
be in
get
it.
no mercy.
So I'm like, wow,
I
this
will
video,
have
you know, so
my
you watch the
revenge.
commercials.
Lion? Have a scone for lion?
So, Liam,
So you want, so I'm watching this like you're used to like
you crossed
cars.
52.
So you know you're watching like usually it's a beer commercial or movie commercial. You know, girls in bikinis, Budweiser horses. You know, but then this comes up. I'm like, what is going on? You know, these free mobile games now have. You know, the first time I've ever seen a video game ad in the Super Bowl. Because you know you don't think it's that their demographic, you know, unless they're doing like Madden, a game with Madden or something like that. So what it actually turned out is like Clash of Clans earns $1,173,000. It's not a lot, but when you think about that as a daily figure, yeah. Oh my gosh, that is a lot of money. That one day paid for the Super Bowl ad. It is incredible, and it's a free game.
Is it because of in-game purchases? Is that
In-game purchases, microtransactions, that's what gets us.
Parents
Yeah.
don't know.
So the video game industry on the last total was $109 billion. So that's a lot of money, right? So let's put that in contrast to an industry that we feel is really big, the movie industry, which earned only $11 billion last year. $11 billion industry. That's 1/10 the size of the video game industry. All the money is being poured into that, and all the research is going to be poured into that. There's like research scientists that are actually studying what makes it even more addicting. Because then the more they make it addicting, like OxyContin, the more the money they'll make. So they're turning they're purposely turning gaming into addiction. So here's something really startling. A recent article from about Fortnite. It's funny you bring it up. Fortnite came out very recently. In fact, I don't have the statistic up here. In the month of, was it March? March. They made $200 million in 1 month when it launched. $200 million in the first month of launch. $200 million. It's a lot of money to be sunk into a game that's supposedly, is it free to play? I haven't played it yet, so I don't know anything about it. But $200 million. So this is basically just talks about, like, you know, how research is designed to appeal to kids,
Yeah.
and actually building a scholarship for that because it's built to be addictive.
There's no pause.
Yeah. So, and here's a New York Times article on it, on New York Times. You know, you probably have to copy that whole URL. And so you can just search for family parenting Fortnite addict. But yeah, it's a really great article about how now parents really need to be involved in this whole entire process. Have you ever heard of esports arenas? Yeah. So now those are popping up around the country and in the world. So now these kids who are like closet gamers, you know, playing in their parents' basements, are now going to shopping malls, converting movie theaters, like and coming together like a major sports event. And everyone has all these computers and they're competing in tournament, and some of the prizes are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So teams can actually make a living becoming a pro game player. Can you imagine that? Being paid to play video games? Well, people pay people to play sports. Why not video games? Right? So like, you know, so video games, you know, are beginning to take over the real world. They're turning all these different places into it. Like the crazy thing is this paragraph right here. The movie theater is at a 25-year low, but more people, 638,000 people online play, watch somebody named Drake play Fortnite.
My son was one of those 638,000, yeah.
So this guy played Fortnite, and that many people just wanted to watch it online, watch him stream and play a video game, then rather than going to see a movie. You know, it's funny, like the Paris Olympics are now talking about making esports a spectator sport or a demonstration sport. That's another New York Times article. Really interesting. So now we're going to go into, now that you have a little bit of understanding of the gamer, my entire purpose here is to help you build empathy. Is to get you to know more about these kids that are growing up in elementary school, through middle school, and then where they end up in your class, high schoolers. Because, you know, we all know that the more you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a little bit of nostalgia there. But I like this one.
And knowing is half the battle.
Any Joe fans here? Love Duke. Good times. So, yeah, but the slogan is true today. Knowing is half the battle. All right, so let's witness the power of gamification. So this is actually something that's that you know, Adam mentioned that I did in Culinary, but this past 4 years we've been experimenting with a math program with elementary school kids as part of the whole entire gamification process. So what we did is we took these high at-risk youths in an inner city. We were only able to count on their fingers, and we were able to get them to do this in 2 months. Watch this. Now this is a very simple game. He has 1 minute to answer as many questions as he can, and he is psyching himself out because he's going to enter the game arena.
You ready?
There we go. You can see other kids are doing it too, so they're all part of the whole arena. So this is gamification at its finest. So he's getting all these answers correctly at speed. What we did was you know, like everything we do, you know, practice makes perfect. But in this case, we're doing practice makes permanence. So we're building permanent memory pathways in his brain to be able to instantly recognize and understand the answer without even knowing it. It's called automaticity. That's the principle behind it. And the only way we can get them to do that is have them answer anywhere between 300 to 500 questions a day. This kid does 500 to 1,000 questions a day because he found his niche. And you know, like, how hard is it to get a kid to do any math problems, let alone 20? And they have fun doing it.
Is this similar to, and I know it's kind of a side here, but really, the whole concept of debate and how debate, I don't know if you know anything about that, but how it's turned into how fast you can get information out just to define your stance. I don't know if it has anything to do similarities, but it's verbally done, but it's still about memorization, about continuing to do something over and over again to get to the point of, that's how debate is now. It's about how much you say more than what you say in some ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, in that context, you know, what we're doing is we're doing positive output. So everything that we're doing is correct, as opposed to probably in your particular instance, it's more about verbalization, and it may or may not be correct or something like that. So this is an experiment, and it's only, this is less than a year old. We've only gotten it in schools, and actually, to be able to do this, because this is high level, like bleeding edge experimental technology. Because what we're doing is we're catering to the accelerated mind. These kids' minds are so crazy fast. Now all we're doing is we're holding them back because we as humans are humans. We can only dole out things at a human rate. But our minds are actually so much more sophisticated than that really, you know, we're just unlocking the potential. So we're actually looking for schools. If there's any schools out, if any of you out there want to partner with us, we're looking for people to partner and pilot it for free to provide us more research data on different demographics. We actually, when we started in elementary school, we went to middle school, and then we actually had it in 2 high schools accidentally. It was because they contacted us, and we didn't think it was going to work, but it actually did work, surprisingly. So we thought that it was going to be way beneath it, but they found it to be very useful. And now we're actually doing a test at a college in about 3 weeks for a summer program where we're doing specifically coloring math, and they're going to use this as an exercise. So if you're interested in being a pilot school and want to work with us on research, then we'd love to get you set up. There's no training because you just log in, hit a button, and then go. Because the secret behind, I didn't put that image up here, is that there's a leaderboard. I didn't put the leaderboard image up, where the kids are actually contributing towards a team goal. So everyone's like creating a positive interdependence between each other because we're all part of the team, creating that tribal aspect. So now we're part of a tribe, everyone's participating, and then each student has an individual goal which is tailored and adapted to their need. Actually, there we go. So this is the leaderboard. So you can see that, you know, this is the goal, and it moves across the screen. So this is creating a class goal. So this is part of gamification. It's like now, you know, everyone's participating. We're all part of the team. And as they all contribute points, you heard in the background, everyone's doing it. It goes to the end here, turns red, yellow, then green and blue. These are individual goals. Each kid tailors to their own level. So the top kid may contribute, let's say this is 10,000 points for the class goal. 1,000 of it is being done by the top kid. He's the Michael Jordan of the class. Everyone else actually looks up to him, and then because, like, you know, he's the star. You know? And then the lower kids, like, they may only contribute 100 points. But the cool thing that we found in our research is that the kids don't feel like they're discouraged, but now they're being encouraged because they have upward mobility as well. So it creates positive interdependence with group accountability, individual accountability, and then later on, like you see when they hit goal, it gets blue, and then everyone hits their goals in a 15-minute exercise, and then as a warm-up exercise, you do it once a day, and then in 2 months, they'll be doing something like that. In fact, here, let me just show you this. This is later on down the road. You can't really see it, it's a small image, but now he's doing like multi-digit. With word problems. Pretty crazy, right? How we can actually get a kid to do 500 to 1,000 problems a day. But that's the output. That's what you get for doing that much practice.
It's like the old typing tests. You always try to get a keyboard to see how perfect you could get it.
Exactly. You know, and actually, we're seeing a kind of resurgence from conceptual learning back to rote memorization. For the past 10 or 15 years, we've been pushing conceptual learning so much, but we're missing the fundamental building blocks. So there has to be a balance of fluency. Okay, so now we're going to go to understanding the language. So first thing that's very common in gaming is called grinding. Anybody heard of grinding before? Anyone know what grinding means?
Well, in skateboarding.
Yeah, grinding on skateboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the grinding, I guess sometimes I get teachers say it's a dance move. So basically grinding is a very popular mechanic in video games. It's what basically extends the life of a game beyond the scope of it. Because like most games, you design it, you have a storyline, a narrative, Grinding has nothing to do with story, narrative, or anything like that. It's basically like, you have to do something repetitively to be able to gain gold or experience points or whatever. Like an example that I like to use is I played this MMO, this like online game called EverQuest a long time ago, back in the early days of online gaming. And I wanted to learn to fish. So first I have to go to the merchant, go buy a fishing pole, and walk to a body of water, and I hit the fishing button. So I'll go bloop, bloop, fail, darn. And I keep doing that, fail, 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 success, boom, I get 1 XP. I do that for like maybe like 10, 15 minutes, and I get to level two of fishing. Like, okay, great. I keep doing it again, it gets harder, I keep hitting the fishing button, half an hour later, I get to level 3. My goal is to get to level 5. So after another 5 hours of doing this fun activity, because it's so fun, I get to level 5, because what that does is it gives me the ability to go to the merchant and say, okay, I'm now level 5, give me the golden fishing rod. Now with the golden fishing rod, I can go to the lake and continue to fish. I have a 1% chance of getting the rainbow trout, so I keep doing it over and over again. After 1,000 tries, I made it to level 8, the chances increase, I got the rainbow trout. I'm like, all right, I got the rainbow trout. Now I go to the fish merchant, I trade in my rainbow trout for a ticket to the next island where I can go and catch the mythical bluefin. And I catch the mythical bluefin, which takes me another 20 or 30 or 40 hours of doing that particular task. And then I take that fish and then I go to the armor and say, incorporate this magical fish into my armor, which then I can go in and attack the dragon at the dungeon at the end of the way. So, did that sound like a lot of fun to you? No, the journey was not fun, but I had a goal in mind. So that's what grinding is. It's just getting something to do, a repetitive task over and over again for some sort of future reward. All right, so a larger extent of grinding is farming. So instead of doing one task, I'm doing a series of multiple tasks over and over again to be able to gain reward. So an example of farming is like you go through a level and you pick up gold throughout the level every time. And you can repeat that level again and pick up more gold and more experience. And what you're doing is you're going through the same level over and over again. And usually the levels don't change that much. Sometimes they alternate the enemies, sometimes they don't, sometimes it's completely the same. But the thing is, like, you think that someone will want to do a level that's different and challenging and diverse, but no, actually I want it to be safe because I want to be able to go through and run through this level in 1 minute, collect all the gold, and do it over again. Because what I'm doing is like I have the process down. I have the process down. And then I eventually get enough gold, which then I can use to buy armor and then go attack the dragon. So farming is streaming up multiple menial tasks into one. So a lot of kids, when they're saying, "Oh, I have to farm that level," now they're not really farming anything. They're actually doing a level over again to gain more gold. So that lends into the next phenomenon called speed run. So a lot of kids do this called speed run because what? I'm going through this level, I'm farming it, but instead of farming it, I wanted to go through it as fast as possible. So when I go through the level first time, it may take me 5 minutes. The second time, now that I've had some experience, it'll take me 4 minutes to go through it. Third time, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Because every time I go through it, I discover something new, another enemy that's over here on the corner, so I preemptively take care of that enemy, and I go and jump over this cliff because now I know that I can jump and bypass an area by jumping over the cliff. And every time I do it, subsequently I get it down to like maybe 1 minute and 57 seconds. I post my speed run score online, and I see that Bob did it in 1 minute and 55 seconds. I'm like, Bob, how the heck did you do that? And he's like, oh, well, there's this like little trick that you don't know about, but I'll tell you. And then he tells me about the trick, and I'm like, oh, I never saw that. And then I go back through it again. I do it maybe a dozen times until I perfect that one little special trick, and I shave off 2 more seconds. So that's something that kids do. It's called speedrunning. It's like a personal challenge. They challenge each other, and they want to one-up each other through that whole process. Now, raids are very important. It's very popular in World of Warcraft. So when you hear a kid say, "I'm going to go on a raid," don't call the cops. They're not going to hit up a convenience store. They're actually, grouping. They're coming online to go raid a dungeon. So raids are actually very important from an academic standpoint, because what has to happen is you have to first coordinate a time. Okay, everyone, we're going to meet at 7 p.m. at this specific location. It may be friends locally, it may be friends internationally. Who knows? It could be anybody. So they coordinate a time. But before they do that, they also assign tasks. Like you're the mage, you have to go pick up the special items so we can go into the dungeon. You're the cleric, you have to go pick up these healing potions that counteract this specific poison that we're going to counter. You're the fighter, you just show up and like beat your chest. But the thing is, so they have to usually assign pre-tasks to everyone to even be ready for the dungeon. So everyone does their thing and they show up and they coordinate. And then they have to go in and hit the dungeon together and make it through. So if one person fails, then they're going to have less chance of success. So everyone has to work together, use your spells properly. The cleric will heal somebody, the magician will cast smog or something like that, and the fighter thumps his chest, and they make it through the level, they get to the end, they kill the dragon, and then they get the treasures at the end. So that's a raid. So it's not just going in and doing something. If you want to hit a high level dungeon, you have to coordinate. You have to plan. You have to be a team. All right. So this last one here, that's another phenomenon. And actually, I'm going to tie all this into education here in a second. Is 100%er. So you have that kid who is so OCD that wants to do everything perfectly. So in a game, like when you play a video game, most of the time when you finish it, you've done it. It says you have completed 53% of the game. Like, I finished the game. Well, there's all these hidden secrets, these little nooks and crannies. You can pick up collectibles. You have to do these special tricks to earn certain rewards. So there's like, so when you play a game, the narrative ends, but there's still more things to do. So what do? I'm like, oh, well, let me go and like look at the map and go back to the old levels again and pick up some collectibles and pick up some more items. And so basically, I'm just going back to where I've already been through and just rehashing it just to find more stuff. So 100%er has the mindset that when they play a game, they have to hit that 100% mark. They're so obsessed with it that they can't stop until they hit that 100% mark. Well, in an instance like for like what I've done with the Culinary program, we have this formative assessment, and like so we had one kid who would take the test like 60 times because he's like, I have to get the all green and blue. I'm like, no, okay. So we actually took the blue out of that curriculum since he's like, we were training OCD kids. We don't want that. But in any case, like we saw that manifest as we're experimenting with these kids, like where they were 100%ers, and they can't stop. They can't physically stop because they're driven by this need to do 100%. It's not, we didn't tell them to do that. The teacher didn't tell them to do that. They have this inner desire to do that. And we just basically provided a vehicle for them to do that. So grinding is equal to remediation. So did you see that parallel there? Getting them to repeat that multiple actions over and over again. So so you can tie that to remediation. Like you're remediating tasks over and over again. Like, it may seem useless to you, but it's for a higher purpose. What we want you to do is show them incremental growth. So every time they do it, like praise them for whatever the metric is. Like, oh, you did 5% better this time. You did 5% better, etc., etc. We want to say you'll be 100% perfect all the time from first cut to last. So it's a gradual growth. We provide incremental rewards through the structure as well. But the big thing is you want to provide them a goal, and then at the end of the goal, provide them a special item or ability for that. You were taking a picture? I'll send you the slides too, so
Oh, great.
without this weird coloring problem.
Oh, you will send it to all our emails?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Okay, so example, it's anybody have 95 to 100% serve safe pass rate?
Wish.
Yeah. Woo! You're already at 90. All right, so you're good. So we developed a gamified serve safe program that actually takes these principles and for those of you who have done 90 above, I'm not talking to you, but for a lot of teachers who are out there trying to get the kids to learn serve safe, we know that's a very dry subject matter. But if you make it in such a way where they're leveling up and they're doing these different things incrementally, it helps them a little bit. It doesn't reach everyone, but it definitely gives you an edge. And fortunately, we usually work with schools where they're at 30 to 40% pass rates, and we got them all the way up to 90 to 95. Because the other thing is, as a teacher, you can see who's not ready, so you only let them take a test until you have the data to back your assumptions up. Because I know the biggest complaint I hear from teachers is, oh, before I would tell you you're not ready, and you'd be like, no, you just don't like me. I'm going to go take that test and waste that money. But now you can point to data and say, you're not ready, and then they don't have anything to argue against anymore. So So anyway, gamifying education is not creating a video game. That's the most important thing that I need to stress. It's like some people think, oh, I need to create a game. I need to create all these like fancy graphics and these sound effects and these animations. No, the last thing you want to do is do that, because what happens is if you create something like a game in education, what you're doing is you're saying, this is my game in education. This is the game in the real world. The game in education is down here. The game in the real world is like here. Now they're going to be compared, and this is utter crap compared to the game in the real world. Whereas if you use gamification, they're still in the education environment. They're not thinking of it as a game. They're thinking of it as an exercise, just like in the math program. They don't think of it as a game. There's no graphics or animation. It doesn't do anything compared to the real world, because we want to create that disconnect. Otherwise, you're going to say, this is stupid, this is cheesy, I'm going to go and play Halo or Fortnite or something like that. So there are 5 steps to gamification. First off, you need to know the audience. Second, define clear learning objectives and why. Now the why is the biggest thing. Why am I learning this? What's the relevance to this? Structure the experience with a goal in mind. So you build the experience and you go, okay, this is the goal, or these are the steps to the goal. The fourth step is like identify resources. So now you figured out what your goal is. Now you can put together like all the different things that you need to reach that goal. And then the fifth thing that you would do is you apply the gamification process. That's something that's fluid, intuitive, and integrating choice. So that's a hard one to do. So how do you integrate choice into a lesson? So let's look at writing and education. And actually, if I can get somebody to volunteer or pick up, I have this worksheet that I'm going to pass out, which we're going to get to in view. Or incremental growth, learn through multiple passes. Step 1 takes you to step 2, just getting us to understand that. You can't skip steps. So there are no shortcuts in the entire experience. So that's how we translate writing and education. All right, so let's look at how we could kind of apply this. So we have the vegetables of desirability, because vegetables are desirable. So the first level is we're going to work with potatoes. Okay, you're going to go and you're going to peel the potato, you're going to scrap the potato, you're going to cut it into juliennes, batonnet, all these different cuts. We're not going to tackle tournée yet because that's level 5 or 6, but just sort of cut up the potato and demonstrate to you. And after you level up from potato, you can go to carrots now. So now you can work instead of with the starchy item, you can work with something that's has a little more sucrose in it. I'll turn your cutting board orange. So then when you finish preparing all the things that you can do with a carrot, and you discover that you can make carrot flowers and some carrot decorations, then you can go on to working with cucumbers. So you level up to the cucumber level, and then you can do all these different decorative cuts with cucumber. And then eventually you'll end up with watermelon, so you can cut up a watermelon and do some really nice decorative cuts. So this is kind of give you an example of how you're setting up an expectation that you start out with something boring, potatoes, and you end up with watermelon or something more exotic like that, like papayas or mangoes. No, not mangoes. But so let's look at how we can apply speed running in education. Well, speed running, the reason you speed run is because you get better with practice. Every time you do it, you get a little bit better. You want to spend time to save time. And you want to do, let's maybe do some time challenges on some simple repetitive tasks. So let's see how fast you can do it. Good job, you did it in 1 second less. Just like you're training as an athlete, anything like that. Okay, so I'm going through these a little faster because I know we're running out of time. But hey, the only thing we have to go to now is the movie, right? Actually, I want to get a beer too. All right, so the quest of the bumper sauces. This is a major quest, so you have to start with the level. First, you got a quest and make sure you can make it to the bechamel level or the dungeon of bechamel. Once you get through bechamel, then you go and tackle the velouté. No, hey, that's a lot of fun. Let's make some velouté now. Okay, now once you conquer the velouté level, now we go into do some espagnol and learn those different techniques and sauces. And then we go in and do something really hard. The hollandaise. Don't break the hollandaise. And then so you see how we take these simple concepts and turn it into something a little more fun. Just like, oh, hey, now I gotta go learn this velouté sauce. No, you're leveling up. You're getting better through the process. You're increasing your skill level. So let's look at completionists. So a lot of these things are part of completionists, like you micro-credentials, so give them lots of little credentialing, like little badges, as your place, like you're basically collecting a lot of little things. You can take these mini badges and like form into a mega badge, kind of like Voltron or something like that. And then you think like you tell them like, hey, you just finished that assignment, but you only got 60% of it. There's 40% more. It's called extra credit. Let me see you do that. So you only got 60%, but you got the 40% extra credit. So now we're thinking of extra credit not as something I can add on, but as something that I can do as part of the whole process. So we're changing their mindset. Like, extra credit is not extra; it's part of the whole thing. But you only did 60%, which is okay. But now we present that challenge, so it changes their mind. And they're thinking, oh, I need to do that other 40% instead of like it's extra credit now. And then you can also tack on bonus content. So doing like special reward tasks that you can do in the kitchen. Like for instance, like carving the watermelon. Something that they desire to do, but you won't let them do so they accomplish something. Or making pizza, something simple like that. And then we can other things like stickers, earning points. So you could create a point system and then create like a monetary value. So after you earn like 1,000 points, and if everyone contributes 1,000 points, then the whole class gets a pizza party, or something like that. So you can have people pull together, or you can say, oh, you want to spend that 100 points on a Snickers bar, or something similar like that. All right, we got worksheets around. Good. So now with the worksheet that I passed you, it's basically tell you, it's kind of like it gives you a framework of, you have a lesson, and then you have the genre. So the genres, I'm going to go over here really quick, and I'm going to email it to you. Then we have the motivation sheets that I passed out to you. Then we have like the 3 different tiers of rewards that you can start thinking about like how you want to create those rewards. So the genres here I'm going to talk about is really interesting because like when you play video games, they're categorized in about 10 to 12 different genres. So the first one is called FPS. So anyone know what FPS stands for?
First person.
Almost there? Shooter.
Shooter, right.
Yeah, so basically you're sitting in the eye of somebody, you have a gun, and you're aiming at people, and you're hitting people. Usually in World War games, Halo, Grand Theft Auto and Overwatch is the most popular one that's been out recently. So these games, you think like, in education, like everyone's like, don't play these video games, it's gonna make you like create mass murder. Well, we found that like, video games is not the whole reason why, but there are tendencies to be these type of personality traits. But now I want you to think about the other thing, is that, we may create these environments, and boy, do I seem aggressive? Do I seem like a bully? No, but let's look at this. On the flip side, it creates these attributes for these kids. They're highly perceptive. In these online environments, they have to be a team player. You're playing capture the flag. You can't go and do lone wolf it, otherwise no one wants to play with you. You have to have very fast reaction. You have to adapt to changing situations. So a lot of these games, like buildings blow up and the environment changes and the map changes. So you have to adapt to it. Like people are coming from your left, then people are coming from your right. So you have to be very adaptive and reactive to be able to be on top of that. That's first-person shooter. MMORPG. Anybody want to take a stab at that? Massively multiplayer online role-playing game. So the most popular one that everyone's probably heard of is World of Warcraft. I will not touch that game with a 10-foot pole because I have friends who went down that rabbit hole, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because it's like this. But the games are designed that way because of all those addictive elements. But you think that people who play MMOs are reclusive, they're very passive, they sit in their parents' basements and they're playing these online games on and on. Sometimes they're antisocial, but but they're actually developing these really essential skills. They're team players again. They have a strong understanding of economics. So in the games, like you have to know what the value of an item that you pick up. A special rare item is worth 50,000 gold, but if you go to another town, it might be worth 60 or 70,000 gold because of supply and demand. So they start to understand supply and demand and the value of crafting and the resources that might take to go into an item. So it might take you 10 gold nuggets to create this item. So you got the value of the 10 gold nuggets, you got your value of labor, and you combine it all, and it creates value to that. They're goal-oriented, social, visually social. They are very strong decision makers because they have to plan out, like, if there's multiple classes, so you have to plan out how you want to level up your character. You have to have an ultimate goal, like I want to be a fighter mage, so I have to go down this path to be able to accomplish that. I can't go fighter, mage, and then cleric, because then I won't be able to be good at anything. Jack of all trades, master of none. So there are other genres which I'll quickly touch base on. There's action adventure, fighter, RPG, real-time strategy, sims, and time wasters. So basically these different genres have all these different traits. I'll email that to you. But the last thing I want to finish up on is actually going pretty well on time. I'm a little over. Augmented reality, we all know it. All right, so anybody here heard of Myers-Briggs?
Yeah.
All right, it's really interesting. So anyone take the Myers-Briggs test? Do you know what you are?
Yeah.
I am INTP. Who are you? Anybody?
ESTJ.
ESTJ?
EN something, I forget.
Yeah, no,
INFJ.
INFJ. Okay, cool. So there's an online source that's called the Myers-Briggs of Gaming. So basically, this is the website gamecentric.me/wiki. You have to make sure to type in the wiki part. Because on their site, it's actually an online social gaming connecting, kind of like the Tinder for gamers. But not that way. So but the thing is, they developed this Myers-Briggs chart, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm INTJ, so I'm a visionary mastermind. Ooh, does that make sense?
Sure.
That fits my personality perfectly. So inside of it, when you click on the link, it'll show you all the different traits you have, what kind of games you like. So if you have the kids take the Myers-Briggs test, and then you go, okay, you're ESFP, you're an enthusiastic improviser. That means that, okay, so that means you like to blow stuff up. Then, so they're gravitating toward games like Grand Theft Auto or things like that. So you can start to paint a really good picture as to what games they gravitate towards, and then you can translate it that way. So basically, it'll give you a better understanding. So if you do a survey and you find out that most of your class is this, you're in for a world of hurt. This one's actually, it's funny. This one's the people who like to throw bombs and blow up buildings, blow up like Grand Theft Auto, things like that. And we have these other personalities too. So really interesting. So take that test and see what you are, and see what your students are. Another a really great assessment tool that's online is called quanticfoundry.com. So what it does is it takes you through a series of questions about what games you play, what you like to do in the game. Like, do you want to collect everything? Do you want to just stroll by and smell the flowers? So that's like a bunch of these different questions. And through the process, so this is where I came up with. I'm action-oriented, proficient, driven, socially, and deeply immersed. So that's my gaming style. So here is the dimensions. So apparently I'm 50% creative. So I don't want to be as creative on the online games, but I really like action and immersion. So this is a game. You can take the test and see. They actually have two different tests. They have one for video games and one for board games. So, and they each have an analysis. So if you have your kids take it, the sheet that I provided you kind of gives you a summation of the motivation. So when you look at the chart here, so we have the game genres that you fit. So are you an RTS first-person shooter person, or does it less than fit within that genre? And then you look at the motivations behind it, and then based on the motivations, you'll be able to try to find a fit for your population. So the first thing is survey your kids and see what kind of population they are. Then you can start crafting a lesson that may fit their personalities more than others. So that is it. Here's my contact information here. 9wang at Gmail, 9wang at Facebook, 9wang1 at LinkedIn, 9wang1 at Twitter. So if you want to contact me for anything, or for instance, you want to be a pilot school for a crazy math experiment, I'm going to email you, but contact me if you'd like, and link with me, Facebook me, tweet me, whatever it is that you do, and I'm here to help you out with ideas. I'm still building this entire gaming thing, so actually this summer we're going to be doing some additional resources that will be even more intense. I'm partnering up with a number of university people who are really heavy into that. So it's good. It's just the tip of the iceberg. So I hope you all had a eye-opening experience. Did you all like it?
Yeah. Very much.
Yes. I know. It's fun. Scary. Yeah, so I know it wasn't what was written on the book, but
What?
the description for the session.
No, but it is so much better than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, because it is, we have to reach them where they live.
Yeah. And thanks for coming back again.
Yeah, thank you. You're gonna send us the email. Yes, totally.
Actually, I think more than sure about
Big change. I understand.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Well, thank you.